In this video, I'm going to show you how you will generate the data that you need to complete the exercise in Excel. And in order to do this, we're going to use a feature in the data menu called geography. So I've just gone to that menu here, and in this middle section here, we have a little section called data types. The moment that's showing stocks and currencies, but if I click on that drop down arrow there, it shows all of the different data types, and you can see that there is a data type called geography. And this is a very kind of simple tool. It's that is embedded into Excel. That, as you can see, it's powered by Bing, so it's powered by an internet search engine. And what it will do is, for specified countries, it will look up key geographical data. So we're going to use this feature in Excel in order to generate a data set for you to complete your analysis. So to get started, you need to select 15 countries. So and all you need to do is type the names of these 15 countries into your Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to start by typing the name of the first country in cell B2. It's often quite good practice not to start at the top left-hand corner. You often end up finding that you need to insert rows and columns. So I'm going to recommend that we start with putting off the name of our first country in cell B2. So I'm going to start with my first country is going to be the United Kingdom, and then I'm just going to carry on generating 15 more countries. I'm going for kind of larger countries. You can go for smaller countries, maybe more unusual ones. You have free choice of the countries that you can choose for this analysis. I've chosen 15 countries because I want you to have significant number of countries so that you can see the advantages of using a spreadsheet rather than doing lots of manual calculations. But at the same time, I don't want to have such a large spreadsheet that you're going to find it difficult to navigate around. So there we are. I've selected my 15 countries. So the next thing that I need to do is generate some data for these countries. And I need to select all of these countries. So I start by placing my cursor at the top here on the United Kingdom, and keeping my finger on the mouse, I can just scroll down. So I have selected my 15 countries. I can now generate some data. So if I go back to the data types here and choose geography, you will see that there's been a little change here against the names of all of these countries. We now have this little symbol, which means that Excel has recognized these as countries. And we now have a little icon here, which is for inserting data. So if I click on the insert data, you can see we've got a whole load of different data fields, and by choosing these, what Excel does using Bing is it goes to the internet and finds the latest data for each of these countries by the field. We're going to be using this data to look at carbon dioxide emissions. So the first field that we're going to select is carbon dioxide emissions. So I've selected that, and you can see that it's generated a row of data. Just extending the focus on energy, our next variable we're going to look at is fossil fuel energy consumption. So I'm going to put that into column D. And I've chosen countries with very different populations. So if I want to do anything meaningful, I want to be able to look at how carbon dioxide emissions vary by population. So I'm going to choose population. And the final variable that I want you to choose, and this is nothing to do with energy or carbon dioxide emissions. I'm choosing it because it's a text variable. I want you to choose the official language of each of those countries. So I've selected the data, but it doesn't look very meaningful. In particular, you're probably wondering why under the population column here, I've got a whole load of hashes. The reason for that is because in Excel, when you first open a spreadsheet, all of the columns are set to a specific size, and these columns are just too narrow to display all of the data correctly. So one of the first things that's useful to do is to make some of these columns a little bit wider. So in order to do that, I'm going to start off with countries, because you can see I can't read the names of all of the countries here. So United Kingdom was my first country. You can see if I actually click on the cell B2, you can see that what I actually is typed in there is United Kingdom, but because the cell is too small to display United Kingdom in full, all I can see when I actually look at the spreadsheet is the word United. So it'd be useful to make this column a little bit wider. So I put my mouse over the B to select column B. By clicking on the mouse, I can select the column B. You can see now all of this column is shaded. And if I just hover my mouse to the right-hand side, you can see this cross emerges. And if I just drag that cross over, that will widen the column. If you're not very good at dragging mice around, you can also do this manually. I've just gone back to the home menu here, and on the right hand side here there is the option to format, and if I click on format you can see that we can do column width, so you can also do that manually if you're struggling with how you do that using the mouse. And obviously you can see we've got a big of an issue here. We've got all of these hashes where we expect to see numbers, and so I'm going to have to make this quite a bit wider. Say if I make that column wider, we can now see what the population is for all of these countries. Now I can remember what these different data are, and because I've generated these using the Excel geography feature, when I click on each of these cells, it actually does tell me, rather than the actual number, it tells me what these data are. But one useful thing is to actually label all of label these data columns. So I'm going to put some labels in the top row here. So column C, this was carbon dioxide emissions. So I'm carbon dioxide emissions. Okay, you can see that is also quite wide, so we could carry on making that cell even wider in order to allow for carbon dioxide emissions. But there's another way in which you can get text to fit into a cell, which I want to show you, and that is the wrap text option. So I've selected that particular cell, C1, and if I go to this little symbol here with the A, B going onto the C, if I just click wrap text, you can see that it's made that first row a lot bigger, so we can see the whole of the text. Looks a bit ugly because I've got that stray S, so I'm also going to make that a little bit wider. And column D, this was fossil fuel energy consumption. So fossil fuel energy consumption. Again, I'm going to wrap that, and I'm also going to make that a little bit wider so I can read that a little bit easier. This is total population. Oops. And then this is official language. Now, official language, because it's the last column that I've completed, you can see that we can read all of that. But actually, if I started to write something in column G, we wouldn't be able to see all of the official language. So again, official language, I'm going to make that a little bit wider. And this time, I'm going to select all of those cells and I'm going to wrap all of those so it's a little bit easier to read all of the official language. So there we are. I have now completed the data set that I need to complete the analysis for this exercise.